so this is my 180SX. I'm going to be going over the whole build, what was involved, trials, tribulations, and probably do a tally up of the price of what it cost me at the end. So basic rundown, it's forged SR20, TD06, makes about 300 kilowatts or 400 horsepower depending on where you are. It's fairly basic really. Yeah, I'd probably class this as like a mid-tier sort of build. It's certainly not a high spec build by any means. You know, it's had a little bit of money thrown at it, but it's, yeah, definitely fairly basic considering. Yeah, so I'll probably just chuck up a bunch of photos because when I was building this I didn't think to record any of it, so I've got a whole heap of photos but no videos. So yeah, we'll get stuck into it and start from the beginning.
Okay, to start with, got some old photos of the previous build. The last time I drove it, like Benno there, a couple of laps with Isaac, and I was just getting really deteriorated towards the end. Tape holding the hatch down, body was all trashed, engine was really tired. Bent the front end, so that led to this, where we cut the radiator support off and got another shell, welded another radiator support on. Yeah, started to go back together here, then stripped the interior in preparation for a roll cage, all the fun stuff, stripping sound deadening out. Yeah, roll cage by Rex Kelway, super top-notch stuff. Clearancing the door trims there, starting to paint the interior. Engine bays, yep, all painted there. Mocking up an intercooler, got the body kit from Corporal Industries, it's all Origin Labo. So yeah, mocking up the body kit and the rear quarters, repairing the damaged bonnet from the crash that I had, genuine M Sports bonnet, so yeah, spent a bit of time fixing that. Building an enclosure for the intercooler and doubled as a bit of a duct, extended LCA. Got the Uras spoiler on it here, so yeah, genuine Uras GT wing. Cut the top of the bumper out for an added little duct there. Removing quench pads from the head. CCing the chambers to get them all even. Got the some light porting done. Pretty much just took out the casting marks. Old pond cams that I didn't end up running. There's the duct with the intercooler in it. Seals up the whole front end, all to the new Koyo radiator there. Yeah, another look at the duct and the body kit mocking up. Yeah, so mocking up some more bits in the engine bay here. Swell pot, fuel pressure reg and rail. Messed around with some end plate designs that I'd never ended up running. Getting more bits for the engine, spool rods, CP pistons, HKS step 2 cams, brand new genuine lifters, ARP head studs, valve springs that turned out to be junk. Got the engine back, put it in the car, and then just started mocking some stuff up. Then ended up pulling it all apart again to clear coat the interior, and I wanted to paint the wheel wells because they were all grubby looking. So yeah, repainted the inside of the wheel arches, and then started putting everything back together again. And yeah, started coming together and looking real good, mocking stuff up. Yeah, wheeled it out the shed for the first time in a while. And then swapped to an S14 rear cradle, so added in the GK Tech brace kit. Back on the ground again. Got the Supermade fender canards added on. And back in the shed and started some wiring. More of the kit coming along. I think I got the rear bumper and the flares here. Yeah, got the attack line rear bumper from Origin. I think these were K-Mac rear flares. Spol fan. It's a 16-inch fan, I think, 3000 CFM. Made up a frame to mount it inside the factory shroud. Yeah, barely enough clearance to the water pump pulley there. And the interior coming along. Trying to keep it nice and neat. Yeah, all the paint stuff. And yeah, nice can of bright red. Yeah, stripped right back and looking really naked. Trashed. A bunch of dents in the roof that I end up fixing. We'll prime it up. And yeah, I ended up having to prime the car twice because I had no idea what I was doing and stuffed it up the first time. It basically all wiped off the car. It was real chalky. Yeah. Redoing the plates on the duct in carbon. Finally laying some colour down on the car. So that was a massive learning curve. Yeah, first time rolling it out after the paint was finished. That was super rewarding. First time seeing it all together in the sunlight like that. Massive learning curve. I'd never painted a car before, so yeah, painting the rivets because silver rivets look junk. Yeah, here's the clutch I ended up running. Twin plate ACS clutch. Making up a cover plate to for the RB25 gearbox swap. So yeah, hate it when you see big janky square edged cut holes in the floor. New rear wheels that I got are CSTs. All new suspension arms and an extended sump. Yep, paint the cradle after the GK Tech brace kit went in. Reinforcing the rear LCAs. And yeah, everything's back together and ready to get put back in the car. And here, starting with some intercooler piping. This was probably one of my first pipe or fab jobs, along with this exhaust here. All done with a gasless MIG. The exhaust was, that was interesting. So yeah, spent a lot of time trying to get it tucked up as close as I could to the floor. And, yeah, there's the whole system minus the rear box. All the way back to the diff there. This was a bit of a tricky bend getting it to come up past the diff and the fuel tank. So yeah, it's basically level with the chassis rail. There's a screamer pipe from the wastegate, which should always go down. Wastegates should never go out the bonnet. That's, yeah, pretty disgusting. Little resonator out the back, sort of a bit of WRC inspiration. And then, yeah, the engine problems start. First trip to the dyno, gold upper valve, piston hit it. Looked good on the dyno though. Yep, there it is, bent valve in the head. Head came off. This was super disheartening. It was a nice fresh engine. And not so fresh anymore. Yeah, nice nick in the piston, so ended up using a bit of wet and dry and a socket to try and smooth out the harsh edges. Yeah, it was about as best as I could get it. Then chuck the head back on. So yeah, second trip to the dyno. Made good numbers on the dyno, and then the exact same thing happened again. So, yep, back on the tow truck. Super disheartened at this point. Checking contact with another straight valve, didn't seem to be straight in the hole. So yeah, new valve springs, Supertech retainers, and bronze guides. Heads back together. Engine's waiting for the head to go back on. I ended up modifying my own cross member. Yeah, switch panel, these photos are a little bit jumbled up, but yeah, all these switch panel that control the car, little wiring board I made up to control the wiring harness. Interior pieces going back together, trying to keep it nice and neat. Yeah, ended up modifying S13 and S14 rocker cover because I had the S13 rocker cover on the first track day, and it yeah, threw a lot of oil out the rocker cover. Made a custom bracket for this vibrant catch can. Hit it down. It was about the only space I had down by the power steering pump there on the chassis. Trying to keep everything as, you know, clean and neat as possible. Plumbed it back to the intake. Yeah, everything's back together now. Look quite neat. And then blew the gearbox on the first drive as well. So yeah, sheared third gear that yeah, didn't last very long, 3 laps I think. And I got a 32 GDR gear set to try and fix it. You can swap parts over, but it's a bit of a pain in the ass. Tilton clutch delay valve to try and take the edge off of the ACS clutch. Reinforcement brackets for the quarter panels, just to stiffen the fiberglass front end up a bit. And then yeah, took the car out to another couple of track days. Did this Foolish Line private day up at JDMX Park, and then the following weekend did Matsuri out at Malala. So yeah, I'll just chuck up a couple more photos and then a little bit of driving footage at the end. But yeah, getting into the cost of the car. So I had about $5,000 in parts that I ended up using still, including the cost of the car, which I got years ago when they were still relatively affordable. I think I paid $600 for the shell. So yeah, had about $5,000 in total in parts already in the car, and then put, I think it was about $28,000 worth of parts into it. So that's including the machine work for the engine, the roll cage, and then everything else I did myself. So totaling 33 to 34 grand all up, you know, doing majority of the work myself. So by no means a high level car. I reckon if I was to build this to a higher spec, like, you know, it's still got an RB25 gearbox, which is you know, kind of at its limit at the power level that I'm at. I blew one in 3 laps the first time I drove it. So you know, next step from here is either going like PPG gears or buying a dog box, which is, you know, around the 10 grand mark just for a gearbox, and then you still got an R200. So yeah, I've still got 6-bolt shafts in my car as well, so no GTR diff, all that stuff's super expensive. Really basic fuel system as well. It's just a single in-tank pump for the time being. So yeah, you could definitely double the price of the build quite easily, but it's not really necessary. So yeah, I'll probably leave it there for this one. Here's some driving footage, and yeah, catch you later.